want to do is I want to see the actual reactions that are coming in. And this is a perfect example because we just came up to 15. Okay, 15 real nice big prints. Okay, so can we say that 15 that these are controlling prints? Of course we can. Okay, now we want to look at what our reactions were. So coming up to it, what do we see here? Okay, do these 1497 stand out? Of course they do. Okay, whoever came in at this 1497 position, that's a great position. Okay, now we come back to those 15 prints. All right, now we want to look at the reaction afterwards. Okay, and when we look at it, we don't really see much. You have a couple prints here, a couple prints there. There's nothing that really stands out that shows us anything. Now, with these prints that came in at 1497, if I could short this stock, would I be looking to short it right now? Or should I be looking to short it right now? Not before a pull-up, a pullback, excuse me, a pull-up, a continuation, towards the upside. Now, that answer is not really correct. I'm going to tell you why. When we see a print personality like this, okay, what is its print personality? I want to try to teach you guys how to understand what reactions and what leading up to it is. Maybe two-ish, okay? Most of the prints that we're seeing coming in are 1. Now we're coming up to a level, okay, and we see this. How absurdly high are these prints at 15 compared to what print personality is? So just the amount of shares that someone's able to come out. So it's not just very large. I mean, it's very large, I guess, but it's gigantically above the way that this stock actually trades. It's absolutely huge. So when I see something like that, can I expect that 15 and 0.1 leak? No, I mean, it's just not enough. I mean, if there's just not enough there. When I see leaked prints, I want to see, a bunch that come after. There's just not enough here for me to really take that into consideration too much. Okay, so when I see this right here, okay, and I see a reaction of nothing afterwards, will this stock, in my opinion, pull back? And the answer is yes, it has to pull back. But there's something that I need to look at. Okay, these prints right here, 1497. How long can I expect to be in the pullback trade with these prints that came in at 1497? Briefly. Okay, there's a quicker time frame because of the fact that someone came in there and tells us that they're looking to make money in a shorter time frame. Okay, obviously volume's starting to get lower. If volume stays up, this comes right back a lot quicker. Why? Because they can build more. If volume starts to come down, it's going to take a little bit longer because of the fact that it takes longer to actually build a position. But if we notice something, there was no reaction afterwards to tell us that the stock needs to continue and act like an exception. Just because we have these prints at 1497, that's not stopping. Excuse me, right here. That's not going to stop what needs to happen from the 15 prints. Okay, it's just going to tell us that pullback from those 15 prints, we can expect to be a lot quicker of a time frame. I'm not going to be expecting to be in the pullback trade for 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to be looking, in minutes at that point, in minute bars for the stock to end up coming back up. Isn't it shocking how it works? Also, its personality has been lack of pullbacks. Yeah, I mean, if you come back over when it was coming up over here, I mean, there's been some pretty decent, dollar pullbacks coming into it. But yeah, to a certain extent. But see how those prints did not change what 15 was looking to do. We're following the controlling prints. Okay, but the reaction before is telling us that the move after the pullback, the move's coming up very quickly. Now, if I would have got great prints over 15 after this and volume stayed consistently high, now I'm looking at the stock to be more of an exception. Do you notice how after those 15, there was not one thing in the world that showed us that this stock would be an exception? And that's a huge thing that you need to look at. Look at after this. I mean, there's nothing in the world here that would tell us that there's anything that this stock doesn't really need to pull back. Because again, it comes down to if a stock really wants to go, how are people going to buy it? How are we going to see market makers come into it? Are we going to see them slowly build and just get a few shares here or there? Or are we going to see, like we talked about earlier with the with BVXV, okay, where they're not going to care that we see their buying. They're going to do it as quickly as possible because they know the stock is going to keep continuing. And knowing it's going to keep continuing doesn't allow it for it to pull back yet. So the buying has to look that way. Do you see what I mean? It has to look that way. Because again, if this stock is going to go to 16 right away and not pull back from 15, do they have any time to waste in order to buy to make that dollar? Given the lack of pullbacks in a stock like this, would I just use those prints for an eventual number 4? And the answer right there is yeah. And you know why? So the answer, my answer would be, it could be yes, maybe, or no. Okay. Why is my answer going to be yes in this specific situation? There's something that happened in this specific situation. So volume is consistent. Okay. I mean, that's not exactly. I mean, it's definitely part of it, but it's not exactly why. What did we just talk about? What about these? What about our 1497? What did they tell us about the pullback? Very quick. So if a pullback's going to be very quick with a big move up, am I going to take the short or am I going to wait for number 4? Yeah, all we have is number 4. Because I'm not going to try to get into a pullback trade for 30 seconds when the stock is going to continue up on its way. Guys, as you can tell, my throat is like destroyed. I have a cold, so you're going to have to just bear with me. Okay, but you see how we just play. I mean, this was just a perfect trade. Okay, we got our pullback, you got your trigger back up, and there's just a beautiful number 4 trade. Now, if we didn't have these 1497 prints there, what would my answer be? Exactly, number 1. Because those 15 were so big. So no, so it's not even have to see a reaction. It would be we have no reaction above 15. Nothing happened. See this? Nothing happened. Now, if we take these prints away at 1497 that told us it was going to be short term, all we're left with is these 15 ask prints. What do these 15 ask prints tell us? Black and white. Build. And if they're telling me build and I want to trade right now, what kind of trade am I going to take? Number 1. So it's not just these prints alone at 15. Yes, they said build, and technically, it did move down, 50 cents. Oh man, I swear to God, every time I do a freaking class, everything just happens all at once. Oh, what a beauty this thing is. I mean, this is, guys, if you want a live example of how trading works, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. All right. So this, I'm not looking for it to be an exception. Because did it tell me that there was anything there? Was there anything there to tell me that it would be an exception? No. Now let's say 15, we have 1497, we have 15, and followed up, we have 503, 504, 506, 1506, 1503, 1504, and we get a big reaction of people coming in immediately afterwards. Am I going to expect a pullback? Surprised that didn't just halt. Had the selling to halt. Does the false halt adjust my game plan? Hell yeah, it does. So now I see that selling that just came in, and I'll go all the way up for you. Guys, I have it on another screen too, so I can look live and keep those prints up. Okay, so I see this 716. What does that tell me? What did somebody just get out of? A large part of their position. So what do I have to do now? Because again, I'm just following. I'm following the people that know better. I have to do the same. This right here just made me get out most of my trade. Or depending how big your trade is. If you're trading 100 shares, well, I'll definitely take 50 off. If you're trading, 1,000 shares, we're definitely looking at taking, 700 off. Okay, if I'm trading 100,000 shares, I'm probably going to take same type of deal. And of course, and you have your 1750 psychological level that's sitting there. But I got to take off most of my position because look what they just showed me. Based off print personality, is this a lot? Sure is. Because if this is what they showed me they were getting out, what actually happened? So you can't short it. So I really would never be looking for a number one here. Okay, but when I see somebody coming out like this, okay, so now again, 1716, I mean, we have huge parts of this position coming out. Okay, but my problem is what am I shorting it towards now? You have a couple prints at 1650 that it needs to pull back from, okay. But what would I be shorting this towards at the moment to be looking for that short? So the 15 asked, but did the 15 pull back? Sure did. Remember, now it's trading in dollars. Before, our increments were smaller. We got a beautiful pullback. Look. Okay, we come up. We get the 15 ask prints all the way back down to 1450 based to that consolidation. Then we get our trigger back up. And now some of you might ask, okay, why was 15? Because technically, if it's trading at 50 cents, should 15 have pulled back more than 50 cents? Some of you might ask that, right? Yeah, pullback's too small for the increments. But what did this person tell us? At 1497, did it need a large pullback? Yeah, there wasn't going to be a long period of building coming back into it. They told us that. And the 09, so I didn't see that, Alex, but yeah, 100%. If the ask prints at 09 came in afterwards, and it kind of came in at 1509, beautiful. I mean, that's even confirming the fact that, and that's that buying, Alex, that we were talking about. That buying that's coming in over the level that's saying, I got to get in now. I got to get in now. I don't care if I get in 1509 and it's not 1501 or 14. I don't care. I need to be in it right this second. Those are those prints, because if they need to be in it right this second, what's the reason they need to be in it right this second? Well, because it's time to go. Okay, now at this point, if it had beautiful ask prints at like, let's say 16 or 1650 or 1550 afterwards, then when I'm seeing that selling, I'd be looking to short it. But as of right now, did 15 satisfy everything they told us? It shorted. So at this point in time, what would I actually be shorting it towards? I'm never going to just short something because it went up real quick and high, and then I see selling coming into it. Because if someone's getting out of their position, does that necessarily mean the stock is coming down? Could it sit in consolidation for 20 minutes? Just because someone's getting out of part of a long position, does that necessarily mean it's coming down? Really just means doesn't have much more room to go up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to just short something because I see selling coming into it. I'm going to need a reason to actually short it. For instance, if I had, nice sell prints down here at like 13, or if I had something to go towards. At this moment, I don't have something to go towards. The trade is long, okay? We just watched it happen real time. The trade was long by far. 1697 before this pullback, would we expect smaller pullback here then as well? So we didn't get any really great prints though that I saw. Let's take a look. I didn't see any great prints coming in at any of the levels as it was moving up. Maybe I missed them. I'm trying to look at two screens at once as we're talking. Oh, so you got some bids that came in at 17. Yeah, it's a little bit mixed now. I don't see any real reason that Okay, so you have 1750 now that just came in. So we can start over again. Now it's 1750. Okay, what did we get? Anything underneath? Any reaction? Let's look at it the same way. Anything underneath, any reaction. So we have nothing underneath, we have no reaction. What would I need in order to trade the 1750 to a high 1750 to a high percentage? Would this have to pull back? Absolutely. Because there's nothing there that shows me either or. Doesn't show me that the stock needs to go quick. Doesn't show me the because guess what? We can have a great reaction after 1750 prints of selling afterwards. What does that tell us about the trade we're looking for? It's just going to confirm this 1750 is pulling back. But we don't have any of that here. So in this case, I have nothing, no high percent action that I can take besides letting it pull back underneath 1750. This is, a little bit over, but so we're basically to at least 17, maybe a little bit lower than 17, and then I could look for a trigger back up. Okay, now why would I think my pullback is going to be lower than 17? Remember, I'm just following a story here through these prints that we're watching. Why do I think this pullback? Like, why would I be okay with shorting this trigger right here? Exactly. Not only do we have 1750 ask prints, but if we come back, somebody was setting up for, if I can find them, almost there. Someone was setting up for going lower than 17. So on this trigger right here, I'm okay with shorting it. Okay, is there anything telling me it's coming back up quickly? Now, again, we're just, we're missing lots of prints that are going through this right now. We're just using the main ones that we see, but do you see how this works? So it's really, if you're looking at it like that, it's way easier for you to understand when something is going to be an exception versus a rule versus following, things completely. But it's just understanding what are we actually looking for here. If we know what we're actually looking for, that makes understanding what it's going to do and understanding if it's logical for it to happen. In this case, this move up, we would never have taken that trigger to the upside because it didn't pull back from 1750. There was nothing there at 1750 that said that that was a logical thing to happen. There was no market maker that said, okay, well, I know we have these prints at 1750, but I'm showing you right now it's going up. So I need to buy right now. I need to buy right now. There's no one that came in underneath it that said, I know it's going up, probably not right this second, but in the real soon near future, we're going to get that move up. Okay, so I'm going to get in right now underneath it. And again, those are ballsy prints. Remember, those 1497 prints, those are ballsy prints. That person was telling us something. There's nothing here that anyone's telling us besides the stock needs to continue back down underneath 17. And now I'm basing how far it needs to go off of the print personality. So for me to be comfortable right now to go back long, okay, where would the stock have to go? Or did it go where it needed to? Should it have pulled back more? What's the under 17? Did it have to go a far way under 17? So 16 would definitely be more of a comfortable area. Okay, but I also want you to think about something. Okay, when a stock moves up this much, this cheap of a stock, what are people definitely going to do? And this should just be something in the back of your mind. They're going to lock in profits. It's going to happen. Okay, just like we do that. So now the high percentage trade would be at least coming down to 16 first based off of these 17 bid prints. But could 17 have just been a spot where because the stock hit that level, somebody got out? Absolutely could be. So we have to understand something. Did this pull back enough based off the 1750 prints? You're talking about, a little bit over 75 cents. Did it pull back enough? It did. So there's two ways of looking at this right now. Okay, if your percentages are what they should be, and if we are getting nice buying coming in here, okay, there is a strong possibility of a high percentage trade back up now. But the highest percentage trade would be that move down to 16. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about and like how I'm getting to this in my head? Because again, it's not just all about numbers. It's about who's doing what behind the other side of the computer. That 17 bids could logically be, so 16, a trigger, once it gets down to 16 back up, is going to be our highest percent trades. Okay, from there, and then if we came back down just, a little bit underneath that 17, and we got a, real strong trigger up. But again, with a real strong trigger up right now, what would I be seeing right this second? Which is a very, very important part of whether I made the decision. I'm going to need to see that new buying coming in. And not just any type of buying, that buying that's telling us that this stock is going to be able to run. Because you got to think about something. Once we get to the 1750 level, that's a huge psychological number, sitting at 1750. Is that going to be an easy level to just be able to break and just start running past? We can almost guarantee we're going to get games there. Is it shocking to anyone that with we went into a consolidation right at 1750, and that's where the main part of this consolidation is happening? It's not shocking. We could have said that when it was coming up from 16. That if it gets 1750, we could expect games to be played there because that's what's going to happen to a large part of the time. Okay, so in a spot like this, remember when we talk about those jackhammer prints? Okay, a little bit of buying here and there at a 1750 level is not going to convince me that this stock needs to go anywhere. I need to see somebody that's so damn confident, okay, that they're coming into here and showing I need to be in, I need to be in, I need to be in. Okay, almost like the buying should look like somebody's knows that it's going to 20 to be able to break that 1750 level and be able to actually start going. So there, there's a lot more that goes into this, and I think a lot of people get caught up, especially with this type of question, is get caught up. Well, I just saw big ass prints at a level, but the stock kept going up. Well, big ass prints at 17 isn't enough information to give me. Do you know what I'm saying? We need to see we need something else. There's other things that go into this to confirm what those prints are actually saying. Because someone might miss this trade and say, well, it didn't pull back enough from 15, but it did because of what the person before it showed us. They showed us it wasn't going to pull back for a long time. So now we're comfortable with it. If it ran past 1750 and 18 light on ask prints without another pullback, does that add variables to the short, or would you need new prints for a short altogether? If it ran past 1750 and 18 light on ask prints without another pullback, does it add variables to short? So it actually doesn't, because if it doesn't print that much at 18, do we really need a large pullback? So again, this is going to depend on the situation. What happened as it was coming to 18? Did we see a lot of new buying coming into those positions? Because I was seeing great buying underneath 18, and then when we got a couple ask prints at 18, technically it doesn't need to pull back much, so we can run off the buying that came in from before. You see what I mean? But it's all putting it all together. It's not just, oh, we got huge ask prints at 15, so let's take a trade and hope that we get lucky and it just it tanks down. It's not how this works. We have to be paying attention to our surroundings and the supporting prints that are coming into it. So if our reaction was selling to that 15 ask and it got pushed on minimal buying, we can look for that number one. So if our reaction was selling to the 15 ask and got pushed on minimal buying, oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Because what is that telling us? So you're telling us basically the storyline at that spot would have been big building coming from 15. You also want to think about something as well. 15 is a what? Okay, I'm pretty sure we brought this up before, but what is 15? Huge psych level again. So that's not an easy level to just kind of tear past at all. But those prints that came in told us. So in your example there, Okay, with those 15 aspirants and our reaction was selling with the minimal buying, pushing it up, that number one all day long, because we're going to be looking for it to go all way under 15 for them to build. And in this case, based off of those, we would have started at a price of, big conservative price target right around $1. So we would have been looking for it to at least get to 14. Okay, and then time frame there, that time frame could be a lot longer too. Because if you have selling coming in afterwards and they pushed up on minimal buying, we could see that thing come down to build big time. Because if they're not building up at that 15 level and they immediately are bringing it back down, we could expect them to be looking to build a very large position. Does this make sense to everybody? So when we're talking about stocks that turn into exceptions, it's not like they're just become an exception. It's not like all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I don't understand it, just printing at every single level and it just keeps going up. That's not how it works. Because I guarantee you, if you really looked at exactly it leaves clues. If you really looked into what was happening, you'd see specific spots where it told you this is gonna do this, or it's gonna continue on this way. Because a lot of people would be looking at this right now and saying, well, doesn't it need to pull back below 15? Because it never really got that big of a pullback. And the answer is it probably will end up, because these cheap stocks, like, we always see, they just don't have a long half-life. I mean, they're 15-minute of fame type stocks. Eventually we'll pull back below 15, probably. But can I be looking to short it back under 15 as a price target? And the answer is absolutely not. Because it did everything that it told us it was looking to do. And did that person at 15 make their money? Did the person at 15 make their money? I'd sure as hell say so. You're talking about $3.34. I mean, that's a pretty large jump. You have to remember something, guys, that the rules are based off of things that happen to a large percent of the time. Okay, but they're also there to set a structure of what other things can mean to them. Okay, I'm going to kind of repeat that a little, hopefully a little bit better, but the rules are there to set up a structure of what will happen to a high percentage of the time, but it's also allowing us to interpret what everything else means based off of that. It's exactly, the rules are giving us a guideline of what happens most of the time. Like I said, if every time a stock showed huge ass prints and you took a number one trade, you're probably gonna have a pretty decent, a high, what's it called? A high win percentage. Okay, but there's a lot more that goes into it, because if, like I said, you could get huge ass prints at 15, that tells us it should pull back and build. But if someone comes in over 15 and just starts crushing it with buying, what is that telling us? Are they looking to build a lot under 15? Or are they expecting it to continue back on its way? Because at the end of the day, do we ever know how much someone's looking to build? And yes, the answer is continue. Do we ever know how much someone specifically is looking to build? How many exact shares, how much the exact dollar amount that someone's looking to? No, we can't. Well, it's exactly. We have an idea, but we really don't know for sure. So it's that supporting stuff that comes into it that tells us, well, you know what? Because at the end of the day, could someone have just finished their last part of their position at 15? Of course, and now it's just time for it to run. But we're going to get those clues around it that are going to tell us what the intentions of that person were. What's our assumption if we get a burst at or above print personality on our left-hand side of our time and sales? What's our assumption about that person? This is the only way that you could tape read. What is our assumption? Well, it's a market maker, but what's our assumption about that market maker? They have to make money, right? They're going to be right. Everything about tape reading is based off of that, and it has to be. Okay, so those clues that come in afterwards, it's all part of the same story. You see what I mean? So this just, this being a perfect trade, not taking it because it didn't pull back as much as 15 said. Okay, the rules told us it needed to pull back. okay, and a substantial amount, but that other supporting prints told us it didn't need that much. And it was going to be quick. And then here we go. All right, guys. So my throat is killing me. I mean, we're not going to end on any better questions or lesson than this. I mean, this is one of those ones where you can't beat it. You know, when something happens live, and it always happens live because that means I'm doing class and I'm not able to actually, I'm not actually able to trade it. All right, guys. I'll talk to everyone in the chat and happy trading.